The Free Speech Podcast is an initiative of SFLC.in under the Free Speech Project to understand the changing landscape of free speech in an internet enabled world. We have spoken to a host of journalists, activists, lawyers, and scholars to understand and rethink our current landscape around free speech in India.
Hello and welcome everybody to the next episode of the Free Speech Podcast. Today we have with us Osama Manzar. Osama is a social entrepreneur, author, columnist, impact speaker, angel investor, storyteller, mentor, and sits on several government and policy committees in India and on international organizations working in the area of internet access, digital inclusion, and misinformation. He's also a senior fellow at Ashoka. He has co founded the Digital Empowerment Foundation to eradicate information poverty from India and Global South using digital tools. He has co authored more than 6 books and he writes regular columns in various publications, including Mint. You should definitely follow his work on Mint and his Twitter handle, which we will be putting across when we edit the video. Osama is a global leader in eradicating information poverty. Welcome to the podcast, Osama. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Thank you. So, Osama, my first question to you is I think our viewers would just like to understand that what exactly is information poverty, and how has the development of technology and digital spaces, such as social media platforms, other intermediaries, helped in elevation of information poverty?
So, information poverty is not a new term, or this is not a new phenomena. What we actually want to define is that in the beginning of digital era or in the beginning of internet, obviously the world started moving towards information economy, attention economy, digital economy, or the economy which is driven by either lack of information or information, right? Or and you can also say knowledge economy. So in this hierarchical way of traveling information or access to information, you will see that most of the people who are underprivileged, poverty stricken, remote, are naturally information poor. That's what we are trying to say. But we don't plan our policy accordingly. We just call them poor, but we don't call them information poor because we do not devise a formula to figure out that their poverty is driven because of the lack of access to information or lack of control over information or lack of privilege to create information, and so on and so forth. So that's how DEF was actually, conceived, that how we can take digital or democratize digital and internet in such a way that information becomes a powerful tool for those people who have lack of access to information, or they are deprived of access to information, or their life is not as mainstreamed as others because of the lack of access to information. Long definition, but actually, in short, having not control or affordability to access information is called information poverty, and not having access to information that can give you a decision making power is basically information poverty.
I think that was quite comprehensive. How has the development of technology and digital spaces, helped eradicate, like, has it made it information poverty better, or, the gap has widened?
So, when we started Digital Empowerment Foundation, we hoped that access to information is the most democratic tool that has come in the hands of the people through internet. And internet is, but in the last 20 years, if you ask me that have we achieved, I would say not really. But the problem has become something else. I would say yes, we have been able to democratize access to information. We have been able to make it freely available for the people. Freely doesn't mean free of cost. But having said that, the control over access, the privileges over access, and let's read access as technology or digital or the information communication technology devices as a means to access to information, it has started talking a different language altogether. I mean, if you read Digital Empowerment Foundation, we write under the line empowering people at the edge of information. But after 20 years, I would say we have two kind of people who are at the edge of information: those who can't access information, and those who are over informed, or they have hyper information suffering, who are suffering because of the fake news and misinformation and hate speech and over connectivity and so on and so forth, or lack of ability to figure out what is correct information, or what is a good information, or what is a trustworthy information. I would certainly say that information poverty have decreased, but information access is not as democratic as we had thought. It has gone in the hands of corporates and the private sector, and also gone into the hands of the people who want to take control of access as a medium, and control over it, that who should access it, how should they access it, what kind of information they should have access to, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean the it's like wealth inequality. You would feel that, with the with time there's going to be lesser of that, but there's actually like it's just a different kind of thing. I was reading this book a while back. I think it's the power of information, which
Mhm.
said that, like when it comes to poor people, people who are not as socioeconomically privileged as us, you would assume that, and when they get smartphones and when they get internet, you would assume that they would spend time, gaining resources, but they play video games or they access social media platforms, and that reality has confounded people so much that, oh, we're giving you resources, but you're spending it on leisure rather than gaining something out of it.
But even
And
that one, I don't think, I'm just to react to what the point that you are saying, is that even that one is something that maybe we cannot become judgmental that how you are using it. But what is even more funny is that what we knew, I mean, you are very young, and we are talking about 25 years, when 30 years when back in 1995 when internet came, and then now the whole definition, practical definition of internet has changed. Now
yeah.
internet is social media for many people, and then who are the social media? If you go back to the behind the walls of the social media, it's all corporates and techno media companies, who are
Hmm.
actually taking all your attention. So people now, even though internet is free and freely available, your time is consumed in only social media, and social media is not the world and not the internet, and therefore creating an ecosystem, it's something like living in a
Hmm.
in a in a in a in a in a, in a very democratic country, but actually you are colonized in one corner of the geography within your own country, and you have no idea where do you go out of it. So even the world is open to you, you are hardly accessing the world, you are only accessing what you are being made addicted to social media, which is a very small part of the world of internet.
Correct, correct. I think that's a great way to look at it. So, you worked extensively with communities to increase their access to internet and other digital means, so that they can conduct their daily affairs and have access to information. How do you look at the interrelationship between access to information and freedom of expression?
So I would say, we had done long back, to relate access to information is also access to freedom, and also freedom of expression, and also freedom to media, freedom of expression and access to media. But I would say that it's not 100% directly related. Even though you have access to information, you may not have freedom of speech or freedom of expression, especially in the last few years, the way social media, which is a final frontier of expression of most of the opinions, most of the researches, most of the journalism, or most of the media, you would see that it is actually becoming harder and harder to feel absolutely free, even to discuss. Because if you think about Twitter is not a media. It's not a curated media like Times of India or Hindustan Times or New York Times, who can take claim that everything that we publish is a final word. Twitter is just a tweet. I mean, you're just thinking and loudly thinking. I mean, I'm saying you are a loudly thinking platform. How can you be curbed on your expression on some platform which is actually not even a media platform? The curated media platform. It is I would say it's a gossip corner, or it's a openly thinking drawing room seat, or a chai ki dukan, or whatever. I mean, you cannot come and arrest people because in Chai Ki Dukan I said Radhika, you are not really looking, at me, and things like that, or in a Chai Ki Dukan I'm going and among four friends talking something. It's like that, but the point is that you are. So I am saying that because of the popularity and because of the attention economy, because the social media is highly attentive, and a platform where everybody expresses, it is also becoming a control freak platform, for the authorities, and even for the social media platforms, because through the technology they curate what you want to see on social media, what you don't want to see on social media, and what of your words actually get a public announcement, and what kind of words of yours actually get sidelined on the same timeline. There are so many parameters of because of the machine learning and the AI and your personality and who are you and what's your thought processes and things like that. So I would say that no, not at all. Having freedom of access to media is not freedom of expression or freedom of speech. It is very judgmental. It is very subjective. It is certainly somebody else is taking a call, and it is just not a natural rules of human rights, or a natural rules of constitutional rights, or a natural rule of human rights. It is certainly curbed, it is certainly diluted, it is certainly polluted.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting way that you've spoken about it. Where do you? My next question is that where do you think that India's digital space stands in making the social media platforms inclusive in terms of linguistic minorities? What can be done to make these spaces more inclusive, as so many communities don't even get the opportunity to participate in online discourse due to these limitations? There are language barriers, there are socio-economic barriers. What is it that we as common citizens, what is it that these major social media platforms can do? What is this that the government can do to make sure that people at least get a chance to express their opinions online and they're not limited by these limitations?
So you must be watching the trend of digital technology and internet. When internet had started and digital technology had started intervening our life, it was mostly very, very written driven, and that to English, even at a programming level and technological development level. But gradually, you saw that all the audio visual medium started taking over, linguistic diversity started taking a mainstream position in most of the technological development. First, it started including languages, but then it started also including medium. Medium means photograph, images, videos, audios, and so on and so forth. So humans' natural medium is oral, and humans' natural language is their mother tongue or their own, whether it's scriptic or non-scriptic. So, internet started following a script first, but it gradually gone to the area of technological development where a script doesn't matter. Digital itself is a script now, like emojis or sign languages or expressions through audio and expression through video, expression through images and so on and so forth. So we have almost reached to the level of technological development where linguistic minorities, or I would say the script based minorities, or oral based speakers are going to be included in most of the platform. You are seeing already, for example, in Twitter, you have a space where you can discuss orally. That means you may not be very good at writing, you may not be very good at putting your words into so many things. Then you can have this oral discussion on that one. Gradually, it might be a possibility that they will add one audio button that you don't write on Twitter, but you actually express one line or two line in audio, with naturally taking your photograph. So that is, I think, technological development which is going to take more inclusivity from the perspective of all the minorities, all the linguistic minorities, all diverse cultural, and so on and so forth. However, I still insist that every linguistic minority, every script based minority, every cultural minority is more subjugated, not because of not having a technological tool to express themselves, but it is because of the domination of some particular language and the people belonging to that language and the people throwing as a yardstick of achievement in that language, and so on and so forth. So even if I may be knowing Bhojpuri, I know Bhojpuri very well. By the time I make my Bhojpuri extremely well understood and accepted, I, the people who speak English will consider only when they know that I am expressing my Bhojpuri expression into English and then letting you know. So I'm saying those social mindset and those hierarchical mindset is going to play a lot of role yet for them to be inclusive. But I'm very happy that technologically we have reached to the level of inclusivity of going beyond the barriers of scripts, going beyond the barriers of medium, and going beyond the barrier of geographical reach as far as digital platform participation is concerned.
Yeah, I think again, very very interesting takes. We're getting such interesting like content. Very grateful. Osama, my last question to you, and the question that I ask all of our guests on the podcast is: do you think that freedom of speech needs to be absolute, like the First Amendment, or are we okay having reasonable restrictions? And if we're having reasonable restrictions, is there a way, like, do they need to be more? Do they need to be less? Do they need to be twerked a little bit? How do you see, freedom of speech in this internet-enabled era?
Listen, I mean, freedom of speech have to be absolute for sure, but at the same time, I mean, you cannot have a freedom of speech to abuse now and then, or language or things like that. I'm saying I think human race have already created a sense of decency and sense of what is right and what is wrong. But keeping those safeguards, I think freedom of speech has to be absolute. And I feel only insecure government, insecure organizations, insecure platforms, insecure companies feel threatened of freedom of expression as an absolute. Anybody who is absolutely secure will never feel threatened of over and under or overtly used freedom of speech. That's my take.
Yeah, I think thank you, Osama. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation, and we're very, very glad to have you with us on our board and just supporting our work throughout. Thank you for doing the wonderful work that you're doing, and we look forward to interact with you more in the future.
Yes, thank you
Thank you.
very much. And I must congratulate to you for this free speech tracker. I would say that when you do free speech tracker, I don't know why do you call it free speech tracker? You should say free non-speech tracker or unfree speech tracker. Actually, that's what you are tracking. Actually, I mean, you're not tracking free speech. You are tracking those who are curbed, those who are restricted, those who are, jailed and things like that. So yeah, I mean, but thank you very much for letting the world know that you're tracking this, and this is in public domain, and this is for everyone to know. And not only that, this one, your internet shutdown also, an extremely valuable public good for everybody to know what's happening around them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sama. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.